Aloha nerds, I'm the Salawag, and before I get to my gut reaction, I want to tell you a little bit about Faith Food Fridays. I work at a popular retail store, and we donate to Faith Food Fridays in Vallejo, California. This is an extension of the church. Benjamin Buggs is a minister who runs Faith Food Fridays, and this organization essentially provides food to the homeless and to struggling families. I volunteer every now and then, at least once a month, at least once or twice a month. And it's a little bit of work, you know, you're filling up boxes, giving food to people. A good amount of the volunteers are veterans, so they already served the country and they're still serving their community. And that's very important, that's a good thing. And, you know, there's a lot of struggling families out there. Sometimes you have more, some days you have more people coming than others. And this past time, there's just a lot of people needing food, and it's the one wonderful thing about volunteering is seeing the looks on these people's faces when they. You can tell some of them are just kind of in a bad place or just having in a rough patch, and seeing them just be grateful to have food, and you're just like, whew, you know, like, hey, I helped this person have a good day. There's a lot of problems in this world, but some are right in front of you, and you can totally do something about it if that's what you want to do. If you don't want to volunteer, just donate if you can. If you can. It doesn't have to be Faith Food Fridays. If there's something close to you, I think you should go out there and do it. Because the world is a bleak place and it needs more heroes, real heroes, people on the ground. Your superpower is not your strength, it's your kindness. Anyway, I just really enjoyed that experience. It kind of inspired me a lot. And the people that do it inspire me, and I'm grateful to have the experience of doing it. So, anyway, thank you for letting me talk to you with this little blurb. We're going to get to my gut reaction now.
When the Salawag was in Egypt's land, let the Salawag go. Oh, oh.
No. Aloha, nerds, and welcome back to another episode of the Salawag's Wife's Great Gut Reaction. I just saw the Ferris Bueller's Day Off again. What a great film. For those who haven't seen it, it's about a high school kid played by Matthew Broderick who feigns being sick so that he can go have a day off and party with his friends all across Chicago. Great film. I just want to do a quick gut reaction because I thought this movie, wow, has many more layers than I remember. And this is not for people who haven't seen it. This is for people who have. If you have seen it, then this video is for you. Because I just thought this was an interesting observation I finally made. First, that this is not just about Ferris Bueller's Day Off, although that's the title and he's the main character. But really, the emotional focus and content of this movie is about Cameron, the best friend, played by the guy from Speed. Although Ferris is the main character and he's overcoming obstacles, it's more of a plot obstacle. But the character who has the real personal story being told is the best friend Cameron, who at the top of the movie is laying in bed. We meet him in bed, laying still. He's truly in an emotionally wrecked place. And Ferris Bueller narrates this and talks about his backstory in that essentially although both of these kids live very nice lives in a financial sense, in Cameron's case he has a sort of difficult household. Ferris has parents who love him and are tender and care, and although his older sister is jealous for all the love that he gets, he has a nice, homely place to wake up and come back to every day. But in Cameron's case, when we meet his home, it's just his room, and it's a kind of a mess. It's clearly a guy who's not taking care of himself, and while Ferris is pretending to be sick, Cameron, although he's not actually physically sick, is suffering. He's really emotionally suffering at the top of this movie. And so Ferris establishes early on that this day off isn't just for him, but it's because they're about to graduate soon, and he's really worried about his friend who's in a funky emotional state. So throughout this movie, the first big challenge they have is that they have to also get Ferris's girlfriend out of school so that she can have fun with them too. And Cameron helps out with that. And unfortunately, while calling the principal to pretend to be the girlfriend's father and say that there's a family need for her to leave for the school day, it's Cameron playing the father on the phone. But he messes up and essentially gets angry at the principal and tells him, well, I want to see you in the front. And Ferris is like, why? No, we have to get her out of there. With what? And so, Cameron just gets a little too carried away with his character that he's playing. And this creates the next obstacle, which is now we have to get the girl, and also, we can't use our own car. Well, Cameron has a car, Ferris does not. But yeah, we can't use your car because then they'll know you're in on this. They know you're my friend. The web of issues expands, and it's established. We get a huge establishing of the beautiful red I don't even know what the car is. I just watched it, but there's the beautiful red convertible. Cameron's father's favorite thing on the planet, which he loves more than life itself. Which is also, although it's not stated in this scene, later stated that Cameron really resents the car for his father loving the car more than him, and that his entire life has been like living in a museum. And it's pretty messed up, that this guy, as Ferris narrates later, well, what it must be like to live like that since being a baby, that this kind of loveless, cold world where no one seems to really be that interested in you. They're more interested in stuff and protecting their stuff, but not you, a person who's alive. So that's something. And it's a personal issue. It's a personal problem, and it's real. I mean, people have messed up families out there. So we have the establishment of how important this car is, and it becomes the car they use to get around a little bit in the movie, but ultimately, they leave it with a couple guys at a garage, and the guys, one of the fun parts of this movie is that other people are having days off as well. So when they leave the car at a garage so that they could go have a bougie experience at a fancy restaurant, those garage guys take the car for a spin, and they have a day off. And Ferris's sister, who again, jealous of him always getting away with his little antics, she has a day off when she goes out and tries to challenge, Ferris in all of his adventures. The principal, he starts looking for Ferris, so technically he has a day off, but he has wasted it really chasing after a kid for no reason. It's like, just let him be sick, let him do. You don't have to be this, controlling figure. Why are you doing this? And I think we see a lot with Cameron's character that he's on a particular path at the start of this movie. And by the end of the movie, he has a monumental change. That by the end of the movie, this all comes back to the car. When they pick up the car again and find the mileage has changed. Now, this was a huge concern when they first got the car, was that the father, Cameron's father, knows the mileage of the car. So they get the car back, they get back to the place, and they realize the car mileage has massively changed. This car's been driven around a lot. And it's Cameron immediately goes into this panicked Cameron immediately goes in this panicked catatonic state, and it scares everyone. He goes throughout the movie, he's pretty stiff, and he kind of lightens up here and there wherever Ferris can get him to. But it's not until they go to this parade, and it's the epic parade sequence that is probably the most memorable part of this movie. But it's during that epic parade sequence that Cameron finally loosens up, and he dances and he has fun just like everybody else. He finally loosens up. And it's immediately after that is the discovery of the car. So Cameron, who took the majority of the movie just to get him to loosen up and have a little fun, by the time they get to the end of the movie and the car has changed, he goes full circle back to where he started at the beginning of the movie. Catatonic. I'm sick, I'm dying. You're not dying. You just can't think of anything good to do. But he's so much deeper and darker into it, to the point that, they try everything they can, and he just sits still until finally they're all hanging out at one of their pools. I don't know if this is Cameron's house or not, but they're all by the pool, and Cameron chucks himself in after, being catatonic for who knows how long. And Ferris saves him, and Ferris, you're my hero. And finally, when they're trying to, they think, these high schoolers, they think they can just run the car in reverse, and that somehow will make the mileage go down. Okay. But obviously that doesn't work, because that's not how cars work. But that's when Cameron finally has his rage, where he's so angry for how he's been treated his whole life, and that this car is a symbol to him for how unimportant he is as a human being to his own family. And he finally loses his temper. He hulks out, and he starts kicking the car like Street Fighter. And it's after finally letting out some rage that he kind of starts to have some confidence in himself. He's like, okay, I think I'm going to be okay. And then leans on the car just a little bit too much, and then the car falls off the jack, because it's been on a jack raised up with stuck in reverse this entire time. He leans on it just enough for the car to pop off of the jack and in reverse speed out of the car garage that it's in, smashes through the window, and the car garage is on this raised sort of platform over a cliffside. The car careens down the cliff and into the woods below, and Ferris now is freaked out, and he's like, oh no, Cameron, look, just I'll wait here, and I'll wait for your dad, and I'll take the heat, because this is my fault. And Cameron finally, with some sense of self-assurance, says, no, I could have stopped you if I wanted to. You think no one can stop you? And it's kind of an attack on Ferris's confidence, because he's clearly a kid who's so used to getting away with trouble that he doesn't really expect anyone to stop him. But this is that first kind of acknowledgement that, no, you can totally be stopped, dude. I could have stopped you. I wanted this to happen. Otherwise, I would not have let you go this far with my dad's car in the first place. And he finally has that self-assurance. And we get that close-up, and we get, when we're introduced to Cameron, it's this sad close-up. And when we see Cameron again when they're out during the day, there's the iconic museum sequence where Ferris and his girlfriend are kissing, and Cameron is stuck staring at a painting, and he sees this little girl in the painting next to her mother, and he's just stuck looking at the little girl, and you see the little girl's face is not even a face, it's just all these little points and dots, and we just keep getting closer to that face not being a face, like she's not real or something, and we keep getting closer and closer to him, and that you just kind of feel this sense of this absence living within this guy. So when we get to the ending and he's destroyed the car and we get a close-up on him again, it's... No, I'm gonna be okay. You know what I mean? He's totally changed. He's totally changed. So I just really thought, damn, you know, like that's the story. That's why Ferris Bueller is great. Because it's not just about taking a day off, which is the superficial cover. You know, that's on the surface. Everyone wants to take a day off from school. Everyone wants to be part of the epic thing and be the star of the moment. I think this movie allows you to be Ferris Bueller and to be a star for a moment, to feel like you can be the center of attention and everyone will love you and all that stuff. But the movie's really deep down, underneath the surface, it's about the guy who can't get that, or feels like he can't get that, and is just personally holding himself back because of how he was raised and because of the things he went through in his life. And that all it takes, you know, in this case, all it takes is just one person to care. Just for one person to care in a way that seems like it's selfish, but it's not. It just, if just one person could care about him and see him as a person and treat him right, then he could start to correct himself and find that genuine sense of internal confidence, like genuine confidence. Ferris is kind of cocky. He's loved way too much not to be a little cocky. Even that his ego is offended by, you can stop Ferris Bueller? No, you can't. And when Ferris, you know, gets back to his house after a whole day of fun, and Principal Rooney is there, that's that moment where you realize, oh, that's right, you can be stopped, and you're caught red-handed by your principal not being at school, all that stuff. And then by that point, it's his sister who rescues him, because the sister goes off and has her day off, and she meets a boy and tells him about all her issues, and he's just like, woman, like, why can't you just go have a day off yourself? Like, why do you have to, you know, sit here and obsess over what your brother's doing? It seems like you're just not focused on yourself. And that kind of ego trip for her is a trip. And then she realizes, oh God, what am I doing? Like, I'm holding myself back from having fun because I'm too busy being jealous about whether or not my brother is doing this or that. And it's like, wow, that's like a lot of, you see all these different points of view about how people see the world and why they see the world that way. And even though it's very specific to this kind of group of people, I think it's still valid. I think this stuff is valid regardless of whether you have money or not. I think if you're just a person, you meet these kinds of people who are obsessed with the wrong things, and you know they are. Everyone knows they are, and they just need to get over it. You know, they just need to take a break, take a breath, and get over whatever the hell is going on with them. You know, and Principal Rooney is the guy who won't take a break. And that's what happens to you when you won't take a break. You get these obsessive need for control because you won't just like take a breath and stop being a dick, you know, just calm down. And the same with the sister, like, stop trying to control. Like, not everything needs to be controlled. If it needed to be controlled, that'd be one thing, but you know, this is a case where it's like, sometimes you just gotta let things go and find your own way. And very much all of that pools and is focused on the emotional journey of Cameron, who is really, if we're talking about, when we look at storytelling, we like to think about, you know, what is a story? A story is about a character who goes through a change. Not necessarily that the character themselves will change their own traits, but that they experience things that give them a new point of view and a new way to look at either themselves or the world.
And so Ferris Bueller doesn't go through a change necessarily, but he's trying to change someone who needs it. And that is kind of the heroic aspect of his character. He wants to save his friend Cameron. And for himself, he wants to just have as much fun and just enjoy life as much as he possibly can. You know, and not be hung up and become one of these sad, messed up people that he sees around him all the time. And because that's his attitude, it rubs off on everybody that he just has a good attitude and he's good to people, and they are good in return. You know, he creates the environment that's around him. It's not just given to him. He goes out there, and what he did for Cameron, he must have done for some of these other people that worship him, because he is clearly, you know, just again, the start of the movie, he's very concerned about his friend and what's going to happen to him if he doesn't lighten up a little bit. So that says a lot about who the character is on a deeper level. But again, Cameron is the character who goes through the change. He is the one who has to go up a hill and then falls down back again, and then realizes that he can in fact go up that hill, this time around with a genuine sense of confidence and belief in himself, and that he will no longer be conquered by what his father did to him, or whatever made him feel this way. He's just gonna do him, and that's beautiful. That's what makes this art. You know, it's not just entertainment. I think a lot of people, when they see movies, if they don't relate to the personal issues, they just see the entertainment aspect of it. I think, you know, that's what makes a movie like Jurassic World successful, because you've piggybacked on the entertainment aspect, but you're not talking about the character or the themes and how those themes are constructed that produce that the magnitude of how you feel at the end of the first Jurassic Park movie. And I think even the second movie continues those themes and attitudes, even if it's not as well pulled off. But I mean, to me, that's what makes Ferris so strong, is that all of that's there, and we don't need a sequel. Although I'd love to see a sequel where this is reversed. You know, Hollywood, you can steal this idea from me, but you better know you're going to fuck it up anyway, because you've fucked up every other goddamn sequel. So, you know, Coming to America, pretty fucking entertaining, but everything else, you fucked up, Hollywood. But I would love to see a sequel of Ferris Bueller's Day Off again, where now Ferris has had kind of a rough go in life, and Cameron is the one trying to get him to take a day off again, so that he can.
Shikaka. Boom, boom. Everybody likes a little chocolate kiss. Boom, boom. With a little almond. Oh, no almonds. Boom, boom. There's no almonds in this Hershey's Kisses cereal. Boom, boom. What the fuck is wrong with Hershey's? Oh. Give me the Hershey's Almonds Kisses cereal. Yeah. If you don't give me Hershey's Kisses Almonds cereal, I'll be very disappointed in you, Hershey's. Just throwing it out there. Hershey Kisses cereal. Ooh. You know, now that I think about it, almonds would be terrible to put in a cereal. Do not take that advice. For once, do not take the advice of social media. What would give you the bright idea to listen to social media? I'm just into Hershey's Kisses cereal. Oh, yeah. Shakaka. Bow.
And so because of that solid construction, I just really wanted to celebrate this movie for how well it's made. And just talk about noticing that this time around, how crucial that deeper story is. Because all the greatest movies that we enjoy always have two stories. or at least they have multiple levels of what's going on within that story. Like if you look at Back to the Future, Marty McFly is like Ferris Bueller, where he's the fun guy trying to have a good time. But when he goes back in time, the story arc is really about his father, his teenage father, who has this issue of fear, that he's too afraid to live his own life. And because he's afraid, he gets bullied and he gets mistreated and he allows himself to be mistreated. In Back to the Future, the father, as a teenager, is given the opportunity, thanks to his son, to sort of rediscover his own self-confidence and to stand up for himself. And so maybe the 80s has kind of a running theme going on here, but definitely that is the inner story of Back to the Future. So these movies are interlinked by having a lead character who's not necessarily going on the biggest personal journey, but their attitude and their way of looking at life will affect another character who is a crucial central character, and that character's change is what matters most by the end of the movie. So that is just what I wanted to touch upon. I also, partially motivated by a great article I read from Game Rant this morning about comparing Ang Lee's Hulk back in 2003 to the MCU Hulk we've had for the last 10 years. And I just couldn't believe finally someone else thinks the way I think about appreciating that movie and its deeper messages and themes and all that. Not that anyone has to agree, but that's the way I see things. So I just feel like it's good to see there's people out there who see things that way. And hopefully if you didn't see the film this way, this helped you see it. And naturally I'm in bed because, Cameron was in bed. And it was Ferris Bueller's day off. And, I'm taking a day off from doing this while sitting up straight. Yeah. Lazy. Lazy bastard. Aloha.